Hi everyone, with this video we are continuing further with the PM Pre-December 2025 mock exam. Here in this one we will be solving the third case study from section B, which is fit company. So right from the first question itself I get to see that this is a question which tests me over the variances area of my syllabus. Let me give the question a read and then I'll come back to calculating the total material mix variance. Now here the question is telling me that fit company produces a range of energy bars popular with athletes and fitness enthusiasts, which come in a variety of flavors. Fit company operates a standard costing and a variance system to control the performance. All purchasing is handled by a procurement manager, and a production manager is in charge of all stages of manufacturing. The standard cost card of one of their products is as follows. I can also highlight one important thing before I forget that all purchasing is handled by the procurement manager and production manager is responsible for the actual manufacturing. So two different people are doing this job. The standard cost card for one of the products is given as follows. Budgeted production was 10,000 units for the quarter. However, the actual production was 11,200 units. The actual quantities used and their total costs actually are as follows. The production manager's performance is partial assessed using the quarterly direct materials usage variances as the performance metrics, and the purchasing manager is partially assessed with the direct material price variance. So the very first question wants me to find out the total material mix variance. Now I know that whenever I want to calculate the mix variance, I want to check with respect to the proportions. So as per the proportions, which material should have been used in which quantity, have I used that way or not? So that is what I am calculating in the material mix variance. So there are three materials that I mainly have: cereal, glucose powder, glucose syrup, and then I have the protein powder. So these are the three materials which I am using. Now, firstly, let me see how much my actual usage has been. So my actual usage is given to me in terms of kgs. Also, guys, please be very careful. The standard cost card is given to you in terms of grams, and here it's all in kilograms. So ensure that whenever you're using these units, they should all be in the same unit. Otherwise, you're going to make a mistake numerically. So let's see how many kgs have actually been used. 380 kgs for cereal. 127 is your usage for glucose syrup, and then protein powder has been 100. So if I just try to calculate a total of all of these figures, how much material have I used in totality, I can find that out using my calculator over here. It's 380 plus 127 plus 100. That gives me 607 kgs of material that I've utilized in total. Now I want to see that if this was the total material used as per the standards, how much of the different materials should have actually been used. So I would place this as the actual quantity in the standard mix. So let's see how much I should have used as per the proportions. So if I talk about the proportions, I'm being told that 30 has to be the cereal, and then 12 proportions are for glucose syrup, and protein powder has to be 8. That means out of a total of 50 proportions, 30 has to be cereal. So 30 over 50, this is the ratio for your cereal, and out of 607 kgs, it should have been 364.2. So I'll note this down over here. It should have been 364.2. Then if I talk about my glucose syrup, the proportion has to be 12 over 50, and out of 607 kgs, this should have been 145.68. 145.68, and then when it comes towards my protein powder, it should have been 8 over 50 parts multiplied by my actual usage of 607 kgs, which is 97.12. So now I can also do a quick check to find out whether I have distributed these 607 kgs carefully or not. So just to give a double check to my workings, 97.12 plus 145.68 plus 364. Okay, so be very careful over here. Even if you type one number incorrectly, the whole calculation goes away when you go for backspace, plus 364.2. So this gives you 607. That means I've correctly distributed this as per the actual quantity as per the standard mix. Now what do I have to do is I have to find out how much difference is there. So if you see, I should have used 364, but I ended up using more, so it is a bad thing for the company. So I take 3, if I use my calculator over here, this is going to be 364.2 minus 380. So I ended up using 15.8 more, negative 15.8. If I talk about the difference for my glucose syrup, 127 is my actual usage. I should have used 145. So I ended up using lesser. So this will be a favorable variance for me. 145.68 minus 127. This gives me 18.68 favorable. So 18.68. Then when I lastly talk about the protein powder, this has to be, if I see the difference, I should have used 97.12. I ended up using 100. So that means I overused by minus 2.88. 2.88, right? Now I can simply take the cost to multiply to get to my final answers. Which cost will we be taking? Always when we're calculating the standard mix variance, the material mix variance, we will be taking the standard cost, which is 10, 6 and 3.5. So standard costs are 10, 6 and 3.5, right? Now I can find out the variances. So the variance over here is going to be a negative 158. If I talk about for the second material, it will be 18.68 times 6, which is going to give me 112.08. 112.08, and then for the last one it will be 2.88 times 3.5, which gives me 10.08. So 10.08. Now I can find out the sum total of all of these variances. This is going to be a negative 1, and then I will be able to get to my answer. 112.08 minus 158 minus 10.08. So that gives you with minus 56 as your answer. So 56 adverse should be picked up as our final answer. Now proceeding further to the total yield variance. Now guys, to calculate the yield variance, you have two options over here, because you do not want to know it for a specific material. So you can also do it using the total method, which is usually a little bit shorter. I will show you both of the methods, whichever method you're comfortable with. But in the exam, what I recommend is that the total method will save you time. If you're able to understand the complexities of that method, it's well and good. If not, you can use the longer method itself. So if you people see in the yield variance, my objective is to measure how much of output has been generated with the given input that I have used. So as per the standards, the material that I have used, how many units should that have given me? Or as per the standards, if I wanted to produce 11,200 units, how much of raw material I should have used? Let's calculate that. So if you see, the total material which should be put is 30 and 12 and 8. That means 50 grams should be sufficient to produce one protein bar. Now, if I want to find out that if I want to manufacture 11,200 units, how much of raw material should have been used? So if you multiply this with 11,200, this is the number in terms of grams. But if I want to convert it to kgs, I can simply divide it by 1,000 to convert to 560 kgs. That means if I wanted to manufacture 11,200 units as per the budget, it should have taken me 560 kgs of material to produce this. But did I take 560? No, I ended up taking more. How much more? I ended up taking 607 kgs in total. That means I exceeded the raw material input by 47 kgs. Now, if I multiply this with the cost per kg, I will be able to find out my total yield variance. I just know for sure that this is going to be an adverse variance which I calculate because I ended up using more material than I should have. Now I know that 47 kgs were extra. Let us now work to calculate how much should be the cost of producing one kg. So if you see over here, 50 grams that the business is able to produce, that costs the business $0.4. That means if I want to find out the cost per gram, this is how much is the cost per gram. Now, if now I'm multiplying this with 47 kgs, but this is in grams. So I want to bring this to kgs. So to multiply, so to convert grams into kgs, we have to multiply by 1000. So that means per kg of the bar costs me $8 to manufacture. So 8 multiplied by 47 kgs extra which I had taken, 376 adverse. This is what my final answer should look like. This is the total approach. If you're able to understand this, there's nothing like that. But if let's suppose you're not able to understand the lengthy method, the shorter method, then you can opt for the lengthy method. What do we have to do in the lengthy method is we have to compare the actual quantity in the standard mix, that is this working that we have done, and this number needs to be compared with the standard quantity in standard mix. So we will have to replace this with standard quantity in standard mix. So let's see how much this is going to be. As per the standards, I had calculated that 560 kg should have been the total. So as per the standards, if I see 30 out of 50 proportions of how much was it? 560 should have been utilized when it comes for the preparation. So this should have actually taken me 336 kgs. Similarly, I will work it around for the other material, 12 over 50. 12 over 50 proportions of 560 gives me 134.4. So I write over here 134.4. And then for the last one, 8 over 50 multiplied by 560, this should have been 89.6. So 89.6. Now we can replace all of the figures when it comes to the differences. So the actual quantity in the standard mix is going to remain the same. So let me just position it a little better. Okay. So here we have put our numbers. Now we can find out the differences. So if you see for the first one, you should have used 336, but you ended up using more, 364.2. So how much more did you use? 336 minus 364.2. So this gives you negative 28.2, which you will enter here. And then if you talk about the other one, the other material, you should have used 134.4, but you again ended up using more, which is 145.68. So it is negative 11.28. 11.28. Similarly, for the last material, you should have used 89.6 minus 97.12. So you ended up overusing by 7.52. 7.52. So that means now if you multiply with the standard cost, you're going to get to your answer. 28.2 into 10 is going to make it negative 282. Then if you talk about the second one, 11.28 times 6 is going to give you negative 67.68. And then if you see for the last one, it'll be 7.52 times 3.5, which is going to give you 26.32. 26.32, again negative. So this is how you will arrive to all of the individual figures, and now you can add all of them together. So this will be negative 282, negative 67.68, negative 26.32. Hit enter, and this is how you will be arriving at your final answer. Okay, so let's do it for this one over here. This is negative 282 minus 67, negative 282 minus 67.68 minus 26.32. So this is how you arrive at negative 376, which will give you the same answer using any of the methods that you choose. Now proceeding further to the third question that has been asked from us basis this case study, we're supposed to find out the material usage variance. So how much material we should have used versus how much we've actually used. This is nothing but the sum of your mix and yield variances. Mix variance you've already calculated before, yield variance also you've already calculated before. So you can simply find the sum of both of these variances. We can go back to our answers. 376 plus 56, both are adverse. So 376 plus 56, this is going to make your total complete variance of 432, that is adverse. Heading towards the second last question basis this case study now. The statement, you have to choose whether it's correct or incorrect. First statement tells you that the procurement manager performed well because the total price variance is favorable. So if you have a look at the prices, guys, we were supposed to get cereal for 10 per kg. We actually got it for 11.2. Glucose syrup was supposed to be 6. This procurement manager got it for 6.5. Protein powder also was meant to be 3.5. He ended up getting it for 3.6. So no, the procurement manager did not perform well because the price variance overall is going to be adverse. Then if you talk about the second statement, the mix variance indicates that the actual output was lower than expected despite the use of more premium ingredients. Now, if you talk about the output that was there because of the input, that is not the mix variance, rather that is your yield variance. So this also cannot be my answer. Now moving ahead to the last question basis this case study, select whether each of the following statements is or are correct or incorrect. First statement tells you ideal standards are short-term targets and are useful for day-to-day control of the operations. Guys, these are ideal, these are perfect standards. Perfection can never be attained in the real practical world. So these are not useful for day-to-day control of operations. This statement has to be incorrect. Then if you talk about the second statement, it tells you that the various analysis is suitable for companies operating in a modern manufacturing environment. When you talk about modern environments, the products are getting slowly more and more tailor-made as per the customer's requirements, and we are continuously improving ourselves as businesses so that we can better cater to our customers. That means that variance analysis is of very less use when it comes to a modern manufacturing environment. So this statement will also be marked as incorrect. With this, we come to an end to the section B of this paper. From the next video onwards, we will start solving the section C. I wish you all the very best. I hope that this was useful for you.